Red Dead Redemption is fake.
If I were to talk about what my favorite game genre of all time was, I would honestly have to say the horror genre, specifically survival horror. I'm not talking about those Outlast slop clones that you can only play through once because it's just set piece after set piece with you running away from brain dead AI. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I don't really like Outlast. The horror games I'm talking about are the ones where
Because Monday Night Raw is ready to throw me the bag. Are you going to match the offer or not? Because I ain't here to play games. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, Trick. Let me tell you the shit, okay? You're talking to an iron...
What if I told you that Rockstar's greatest failure wasn't a game they never released, but one they did? Red Dead Online, the multiplayer component of the critically acclaimed Red Dead Redemption 2, was hyped up to be the next GTA Online. So how did it become Rockstar's biggest failure?
Saddle up, partners. We're about to embark on a Wild West investigation that'll make you question everything you thought you knew about Rockstar's greatest failure. This is
the downfall of Red Dead Online. In the wake of Red Dead Redemption 2's monumental success, the gaming world held its breath for what many believed would be Rockstar's next groundbreaking online experience. The single-player component had already set a new benchmark for open-world games, immersing players in a richly detailed and expansive Wild West. As October 2018 drew to a close, anticipation for the online counterpart reached a fever pitch.
I've been looking forward to this game for so long. I can't believe it's here.
Rockstar Games had proven they had the multiplayer juice with Grand Theft Auto Online, a game that had become a cultural phenomenon and a consistent moneymaker. Naturally, players expected Red Dead Online to follow in GTA Online's successful footsteps, imagining a frontier filled with endless possibilities for adventure and mayhem. The prospect of experiencing the Old West with friends, forming posses, and carving out their own legends in a persistent online world was intoxicating. Early promotional materials from Rockstar fueled these expectations. Hints of player-owned businesses and properties tantalized the community, sparking discussions about potential roles and activities. Would players be able to run saloons, manage ranches, or perhaps even construct their own frontier towns? The imagination of the fanbase ran wild, each speculation more crazy and detailed than the last. As November 2018 arrived, Rockstar launched the beta version of Red Dead Online. Millions of players flooded the servers, eager to create their own outlaws and stake their claim in this digital frontier. The initial hours were marked by a mix of excitement and technical hiccups, as is often the case with online game launches of this scale and hype. Player feedback in these early days was a mosaic of praise and concern. Many lauded the potential of the online world, marveling at the sheer beauty and detail that had been translated from the single-player experience. The ability to freely roam the vast landscapes with friends was a particular highlight, with players sharing stories of impromptu adventures and encounters. However, not all impressions were positive. A significant portion of the player base expressed disappointment over the lack of depth compared to the single-player experience. The world, while visually stunning, felt emptier and less interactive than its single-player counterpart. Activities and missions seemed repetitive, lacking the narrative richness that made the story mode so compelling. Some players found themselves at a loss for what to do after the initial novelty wore off.
Rockstar, knowing folks were rattling their spurs over this, were mighty quick to tip their hat and calm the herd.
They promised to address player feedback and expand the game world, fostering a sense of optimism among the fan base, and the company's track record with GTA Online gave some weight to these promises. Players remembered that that game had evolved from a relatively bare-bones experience into a content-rich, ever-expanding world. As 2018 drew to a close, the Red Dead Online community buzzed with speculation about what the future might hold. Would there be heists similar to the popular cooperative missions in GTA Online? Maybe elaborate storylines involving famous outlaws and lawmen from that era?
It was like standing at the edge of a gold rush. Nothing but opportunity and excitement ahead, crackling like a campfire.
As the dust settled on Red Dead Online's launch, players found themselves in a vast, beautiful world that seemed to echo with emptiness. The promise of an ever-expanding frontier quickly gave way to a stark reality, and what had began as a hopeful venture into the digital Wild West was rapidly becoming a lesson in disappointment for both players and developers alike. The game's initial offerings paled in comparison to the rich, immersive experience players had come to expect from Rockstar. Where Red Dead Redemption 2's single-player campaign had been a sprawling tapestry of intricate storylines and diverse activities, its online counterpart felt barren. Players who had eagerly saddled up for an online adventure found themselves confronted with a limited selection of activities that barely scratched the surface of the game's potential. This sense of emptiness was compounded by the repetitive nature of available missions. Early forays into Red Dead Online's world were marked by monotonous tasks that quickly wore thin. The depth of storytelling that had been a hallmark of the single-player experience was noticeably absent. Players who had hoped to lose themselves in complex narratives and character development instead found themselves trapped in a cycle of mundane tasks that failed to capture the spirit of the Old West. As players struggled to find meaningful engagement, another issue emerged: the in-game economy. Complaints surfaced about slow progression and the difficulty of earning money. Many drew unfavorable comparisons to the more lucrative systems in GTA Online. The disparity was stark, leaving many players feeling as though their time and effort were undervalued. Rockstar's response to these early issues did little to relieve player concerns. Initial updates to the game focused primarily on bug fixes and minor adjustments, rather than addressing the more fundamental issues of content and engagement. While these technical improvements were necessary, they did little to satisfy the growing hunger for substantial new experiences within the game world. Players who had been eagerly anticipating the evolution of Red Dead Online into a content-rich playground found themselves instead in a holding pattern, waiting for something more. It wasn't until September 2019, nearly a year after the game's initial launch, that Rockstar unveiled its first major content update, Frontier Pursuits. This update introduced new roles for players to take on, including Bounty Hunter, Trader, and Collector. Each role came with its own progression system and unique activities, aiming to breathe new life into the game. However, the reception was mixed. While some welcomed the new content as a step in the right direction, many felt it was too little, too late. As players explored the new content, other long-standing issues came into sharper focus. The pacing of Red Dead Online and its lack of variety in gameplay became significant points of contention. Players who had hoped for a dynamic, ever-changing world found themselves instead in a game that felt static and predictable. The contrast with GTA Online, which had maintained a sense of excitement and unpredictability, was stark and very obvious. The snowballing effect of these issues began to show in the game's performance metrics. By the close of 2019, it became clear that Red Dead Online was not meeting Rockstar's expectations in terms of player engagement. The dream of having a thriving, populated digital frontier was giving way to the reality of dwindling player numbers and waning interest.
The online Wild West was going the way of the buffalo, fading into legend and leaving only whispers of what once was.
But in March 2020, everything changed. As the world grinded to a halt due to the unexpected global COVID outbreak, the gaming industry experienced a remarkable surge. With millions confined to their homes, online games became more than just entertainment. They transformed into vital lifelines for social interaction. Players flocked to digital worlds, seeking connection and escape from the isolating reality of lockdowns. This unexpected boom presented a unique opportunity for multiplayer titles, and Red Dead Online was no exception. The game saw a brief uptick in player numbers as both veteran gunslingers and newcomers sought solace in its sprawling digital frontier. However, what could have been a defining moment for Rockstar's Western epic quickly revealed itself as a missed opportunity. The influx of players magnified Red Dead Online's long-standing issues. The lack of substantial updates and fresh content became glaringly apparent as players spent increasing amounts of time in the virtual world. Many players recounted, "I joined during lockdowns excited to explore the Wild West. Instead, I spent more time staring at loading screens than actually playing." Rockstar Games, like many companies during this period, faced significant challenges in adapting to remote work. The transition slowed the development of new content, creating a bottleneck in the production pipeline. This delay was strongly felt by the player base, who had been eagerly anticipating meaningful updates to breathe new life into the game. As development slowed, technical issues and server instability increased. Players reported widespread disconnects during a planned in-game event, leaving many frustrated and unable to participate. These problems further eroded player confidence and highlighted the game's lack of robust support during a critical period. In July 2020, Rockstar released the Naturalist update, introducing a new specialist role focused on studying and preserving wildlife. However, the community's reaction was mixed. Feedback was peppered with comments like, "We asked for train robberies and bank heists, they gave us the ability to sedate animals." It started to feel tone-deaf to what the community actually wanted. Critics argued that the Naturalist role failed to address the core issues plaguing Red Dead Online. The update seemed to sidestep the more pressing concerns of the community, such as the need for more varied missions, expanded role-playing opportunities, and meaningful progression systems.
Might as well been slapping a fresh coat of paint on a barn that was already burning to the ground.
As the pandemic wore on, comparisons between Red Dead Online and its more successful sibling GTA Online became increasingly unfavorable. While GTA Online continued to receive regular, substantial updates that expanded its world and gameplay options, Red Dead Online's offerings felt sparse in comparison. The contrast was loud. One game thrived during the lockdown, capitalizing on the increased player engagement, while the other struggled to maintain relevance. The lack of substantial updates during this prime opportunity for growth became a sore point for the Red Dead Online community. Players who had invested time and money into the game felt increasingly neglected, watching as other titles adapted to the new gaming landscape with agility and creativity. The pandemic had created a captive audience hungry for immersive experiences, yet Red Dead Online seemed unable to, or even worse, unwilling to meet that demand. By the end of 2020, it was clear that Red Dead Online had missed a crucial window for resurgence.
I'm afraid.
The game's failure to capitalize on the unprecedented surge in online gaming during the pandemic only highlighted what Rockstar truly thought the struggling online mode deserved. What could have been a turning point for the troubled title instead became a stark illustration of its limitations. But where were Red Dead fans during the downfall? They were gearing up for battle, not against outlaws or rival gangs, but against the very company that had created their beloved virtual Wild West. The first campaign of many started in 2020 on the Red Dead Fashion subreddit, simply saying, "Since we're all clowns for believing we'll get an update, it's fitting that we dress up as them in-game too." The campaign quickly gained momentum with players and creators organizing in-game protests. The frustration that had been simmering for months finally boiled over, giving birth to the Save Red Dead Online campaign. This digital uprising spread rapidly across social media platforms, with Twitter, Reddit, and gaming forums becoming hotbeds of player discontent. Within days, the hashtag had gained significant traction, catching the attention of major gaming news outlets. As the campaign gained momentum, players began organizing in-game protests that would make even the most hardened outlaws do a double-take. Servers across Red Dead Online were suddenly flooded with characters dressed as clowns. These digital jesters roamed the frontier, their colorful attire a stark contrast to the usual cowboys and gunslingers. The message was clear: if Rockstar wouldn't take their game seriously, neither would they. The sight of dozens of clowns riding through Saint Denis or having shootouts in Valentine is both comical and poignant. It's a creative way for the community to express their frustration with Rockstar's apparent abandonment of Red Dead Online. As official support for the game continued to wane, players turned to community-created content and mods to breathe new life into their digital frontier. Modding communities sprung up, offering experiences that many felt should have been part of the official game. As one modder explained, "We're essentially doing Rockstar's job for them. Players are hungry for new content, new ways to interact with this beautiful world. If Rockstar won't provide it, we will." So at this point, you're probably thinking, Rockstar has to do something now, right? Because these days, they seem to only get involved once modders start doing modding. Well, sadly, the silence from Rockstar in response to the Save Red Dead Online campaign was deafening. Each passing day without acknowledgement only served to fuel the community's discontent. Players who had invested countless hours and real money into the game felt increasingly betrayed. As weeks of silence turned into months, the increasing divide between the support for Red Dead Online and its more successful sibling, GTA Online, became more and more obvious. While GTA continued to receive substantial updates and new content, Red Dead Online continued to languish in a state of neglect. This disparity led to a widespread speculation about the reasons behind Rockstar's apparent abandonment of their Western epic. Theories ranged from financial motivations to internal restructuring at Rockstar. Many longtime fans of Rockstar believed it was purely a numbers game. It's clear that GTA Online is the golden goose for Rockstar. They're focusing all their resources there because it's more profitable. But that doesn't make it any less disappointing for those of us who love Red Dead. But others, like games industry analysts, saw it as a sign of shifting priorities within the company. Rockstar may be reallocating resources to focus on their next big project, Grand Theft Auto 6. Unfortunately, that means smaller titles like Red Dead Online are left by the wayside. Despite the passionate protests and the viral spread of the Save Red Dead Online campaign, substantial updates for the game remained elusive. The community's efforts, while impressive in their scale and creativity, seemed to fall on deaf ears at Rockstar headquarters.
As the official Red Dead Online turned into a ghost town, a new frontier sprang to life in the gaming wilderness.
In the absence of substantial updates from Rockstar, dedicated modders took matters into their own hands, creating a phenomenon that would breathe new life into the virtual Wild West: Red Dead roleplay servers. These custom servers, born from the ingenuity and passion of the Red Dead community, offered an experience that many felt should have been part of the official game from the start. Unlike the repetitive grind of Red Dead Online, roleplay servers focused heavily on immersive gameplay elements that players had long craved. Jobs, exploration, housing, and player-driven economies became the cornerstones of these unofficial worlds. The appeal of these roleplay servers was immediate and profound. Players disillusioned with the official multiplayer experience flocked to these new digital frontiers in search of depth and engagement. One player recounted, "It was like stepping into a whole new world. The unique communication styles and gameplay mechanics took some getting used to, but the payoff was worth it." Just as underground music scenes often revitalize stagnant genres, these servers rekindled the spirit of the Wild West that many felt had been lost in the official game. Players reported engaging in character-driven narratives that were simply not possible within Red Dead Online. The creativity and community engagement fostered by these servers stood in sharp contrast to the stagnant state of Red Dead Online, highlighting the power of player-driven content in maintaining a game's longevity. However, the success of these servers presented Rockstar with a complex dilemma. While they kept the Red Dead community engaged, they effectively competed with the official product. The legal implications remained in a gray area, as Rockstar had not taken a definitive stance against them despite potential copyright issues. This silence created an atmosphere of uncertainty for players and server operators alike. Despite glitches and inconsistencies that are common in unofficial environments, many players reported more enjoyment from roleplay servers than they had ever experienced in the official game. Yet, concerns about sustainability lingered. Unlike the official game, backed by Rockstar's resources, these custom worlds relied heavily on dedicated volunteers for maintenance and support. The roleplay servers also introduced a unique culture within the Red Dead community. Players adhered to specific rules and guidelines, creating an environment that differed significantly from the free-for-all nature of the official online mode. This structured approach fostered a sense of immersion and respect among participants, leading to more meaningful interactions and storytelling opportunities. As the popularity of roleplay servers grew, they became a double-edged sword for the Red Dead franchise. They preserved and enhanced the legacy of Red Dead Redemption 2, keeping players engaged long after they might have otherwise moved on. However, they also competed with Red Dead Online, potentially drawing players and attention away from Rockstar's official offering. On July 7th, 2022, Rockstar Games released a community update that would alter the landscape of Red Dead Online forever. As players logged onto social media, they were greeted with an announcement that began harmlessly enough. The update opened with glowing reports of GTA Online's success and hints at future content. For fans of Rockstar's Wild West offering, however, the mood would soon shift dramatically. Buried within the lengthy post was a paragraph that would seal Red Dead Online's fate. In a few short sentences, Rockstar confirmed what many players had long feared, but hoped would never come to pass. The company announced it would no longer deliver major themed content updates to Red Dead Online, effectively putting the game into maintenance mode. Rockstar explained that they needed to shift development resources towards their next blockbuster title, Grand Theft Auto 6. While this made sense from a business perspective, it did little to soften the blow for the dedicated Red Dead Online community. The contrast between the treatment of Red Dead Online and GTA Online became starker than ever, with the latter continuing to receive substantial updates. As news spread, players took to forums, social media, and in-game spaces to express their reactions. The response was a potent mix of anger, disappointment, and resignation. Many felt betrayed by Rockstar, having invested countless hours and real money into a game they believed would be supported for years to come. One player's comment encapsulated what everyone was feeling. "It feels like we've been strung along for years only to be abandoned when we needed support the most." This feeling of abandonment was particularly acute given the timing of the announcement, coming after months of community-led efforts to revitalize the game. Industry analysts quickly weighed in on Rockstar's decision. Jake Tucker, a journalist from NME, offered a particularly scathing assessment. "If I were a cynic, you could say that Red Dead Online just wasn't making enough money for Rockstar to give a shit about its community." This blunt statement highlighted the financial motivations that likely underpinned Rockstar's decision, a reality that many players found difficult to accept. Speculation began to circulate that this decision had been made long before the public announcement. Players pointed to the dwindling frequency and quality of updates over the preceding months as evidence that Red Dead Online had been on life support for some time. The timing of the announcement, coming in the middle of summer, raised eyebrows too. It seemed to some that Rockstar was attempting to minimize the impact of the news.
To a whole bunch of folks, that news signaled the end of a trail that they've been riding on.
The vision of Red Dead Online becoming the next big Rockstar multiplayer experience was now officially over. The potential for expansive heists, elaborate storylines involving famous outlaws and lawmen, and a constantly evolving frontier world would remain unrealized. In the aftermath, players and industry observers analyzed what had gone wrong. Some pointed to the game's troubled launch and slow initial content rollout as factors that had stunted its growth from the beginning. Others criticized Rockstar's monetization strategy, arguing that it had failed to strike the right balance between player satisfaction and profitability. This community update, intended as a gesture of transparency, was seen by many as a hollow gesture.
Red Dead Online barely got a mention, more like a passing sigh or a weak nod to the loyal fans who've stuck around for the rough ride. After Red Dead Online was left to rust, industry folks, journalists, and players started to pick the bones clean, trying to figure out how such a grand idea went so belly up.
As they examined Rockstar's decision-making, a startling truth emerged. The very elements that made Red Dead Redemption 2 a masterpiece may have doomed its online component from the start. The comparison between Red Dead Online and GTA Online revealed fundamental differences in approach with far-reaching
Units are
consequences.
integers, so like
While
B5
GTA
to
Online
B5.
thrived on purchasable items like sports cars and extravagant properties, Red Dead Online struggled to offer compelling microtransaction options. The limitations of its Western setting became glaringly transparent as developers grappled with ways to monetize a world where horse customization and weapon enhancements were the primary offerings. Jake Tucker from NME succinctly captured this dilemma, stating, "You can't sell a tank in the Wild West." This observation highlighted a critical flaw in Red Dead Online's monetization strategy. The absence of appealing items for sale contributed significantly to the game's decline, as players found little incentive to invest real money into the virtual economy. The slow update cadence of Red Dead Online emerged as another critical factor in its downfall. Rockstar's focus on bug fixes rather than introducing new, engaging content left the community frustrated and increasingly disinterested. The lack of major expansions, which players had eagerly anticipated, further exacerbated the situation. This stood in stark contrast to GTA Online's consistent and substantial updates over the years. As the investigation deepened, industry experts pointed to another significant oversight: the absence of cross-platform play. This limitation restricted the game's player base, hindering its potential for growth and community engagement. GTA Online benefited from a larger, more diverse player community, which contributed to its longevity and success. The grounded nature of Red Dead Online, while initially praised for its authenticity, ultimately became a double-edged sword. Unlike GTA Online, which could easily incorporate fantastical elements and extravagant items, Red Dead Online's more realistic setting restricted the types of content that could be monetized effectively. This limitation stifled creativity and content development and made it challenging to introduce the kind of outlandish, profitable additions that had become a hallmark of GTA Online's success. A recurring theme had started to emerge: Rockstar's apparent lack of commitment to the game's long-term success. Many players felt that Red Dead Online was treated as an afterthought, with insufficient resources allocated to its development, especially compared to the ongoing support for GTA Online. This perception led to a growing sense of betrayal among the community, who invested time and energy into a game they believed would receive the same level of attention as its predecessor. The post-mortem examination of Red Dead Online revealed a complex interplay of factors that contributed to its demise. The game's monetization strategy, hampered by the constraints of its historical setting, failed to generate the revenue needed to justify ongoing development. The slow pace of updates and lack of substantial new content eroded player interest over time. The absence of cross-platform play limited the potential for community growth and engagement.
It was like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole when it came to adding all the money-grabby and flashy content that GTA Online was built on.
The abandonment of Red Dead Online marked a turning point for Rockstar Games, a company that had long enjoyed an almost mythical status in the gaming industry. For years, Rockstar had been viewed as an infallible giant, consistently delivering groundbreaking titles that pushed the boundaries of interactive entertainment. Their games were cultural events that reshaped the landscape of the medium. However, the mishandling of Red Dead Online began to chip away at this carefully crafted image. Loyal fans who had once defended the company's every move found themselves questioning the studio's commitment to its creations beyond the initial sales figures. While Grand Theft Auto Online received substantial updates and improvements based on player feedback, Red Dead Online languished with minor updates and events that many players found unsatisfactory.
This difference in support showed clear as a desert sky that Rockstar had picked favorites, leaving Red Dead fans feeling like second-rate citizens in their own backyard.
Industry observers took note of this shift in Rockstar's approach. The company's community updates became a subject of scrutiny, with analysts pointing out the stark differences in language and enthusiasm when discussing the two online platforms. Where GTA Online's future was painted in vibrant strokes of possibility, Red Dead Online's fate was addressed in muted tones, if any at all. This perceived neglect of Red Dead Online raised concerns about Rockstar's broader strategy and priorities. Some fans began to express worry about the future of single-player experiences at the studio. The fear was that the focus on multiplayer monetization might overshadow the narrative-driven games that had been Rockstar's hallmark. The company's communication strategy during Red Dead Online's decline came under particular fire. Many players felt that Rockstar had failed to adequately address their concerns or provide transparency about the game's future. This lack of engagement contributed to a growing sense of disillusionment among the community. The silence was deafening, and in the absence of clear communication, speculation and frustration flourished. As the situation unfolded, Rockstar found itself in unfamiliar territory, facing widespread criticism from both players and industry observers. The once impenetrable facade of the company began to show cracks, revealing vulnerabilities that had previously been unthinkable. The handling of Red Dead Online became a case study in how even the most successful companies can stumble when they fail to meet the expectations of their audience. The situation with Red Dead Online also highlighted a broader issue within the gaming industry: the challenges of maintaining live service games and balancing player satisfaction with profitability. Rockstar's struggles in this area were particularly notable given their previous success with GTA Online. The failure to replicate that success with Red Dead Online raised questions about the sustainability of the live service model and the resources required to keep multiple online worlds thriving simultaneously. As the gaming world looks ahead, all eyes turned to Rockstar's next big project. The company finds itself at a crossroads, facing the challenge of rebuilding trust while also delivering on the massive expectations that come with Grand Theft Auto 6. The legacy of Red Dead Online's failure will undoubtedly influence how players and critics approach future Rockstar titles, casting a long shadow over the once untouchable giant of the gaming industry. As the dust continues to settle on Red Dead Online's demise and the focus remains on GTA 6,
The whole gaming world's on edge, waiting to see if the lessons learned from Rockstar's greatest blunder will forge a new path for one of the most anticipated games in gaming history.
Grand Theft Auto 6 is already poised to be an entertainment titan, carrying the weight of its predecessor's success, but now an unexpected shadow looms over its development. The failure of Red Dead Online raises serious questions about Rockstar's ability to manage an online experience. Did they get lucky with GTA Online? Are the expectations for GTA 6's online mode too great? And what will they do if things get hard? Players who invested countless hours in Red Dead Online only to see it abandoned will approach the prospect of GTA 6's online mode with a mix of excitement and fear. Will this new iteration receive the long-term support that had been promised but never fully realized for Red Dead Online? The gaming community has found itself embroiled in heated debates about whether Rockstar has truly learned from their mistakes, and not just the ones with Red Dead Online. Some argue that the company will double down on their efforts to ensure GTA 6's online component will be a resounding success, while others remain skeptical, pointing to more recent actions like cracking down on modders or releasing a poor cash grab remaster. It's a reminder that this isn't the same Rockstar from 2005. Speculation has also run rampant about how Rockstar might approach monetization in their next online venture. The struggles faced by Red Dead Online in generating sustainable revenue has not gone unnoticed. Industry analysts ponder whether GTA 6's online mode will lean more heavily into microtransactions, or if Rockstar will seek a more balanced approach to keep players engaged without feeling exploited. As Rockstar has shifted resources to focus on GTA 6, there are also concerns about the fate of other franchises within the company's portfolio. Some fans feared that the intense focus on ensuring GTA 6's success might come at the expense of other beloved series, potentially leading to a narrower range of experiences from the once diverse studio. The impact of Red Dead Online's downfall also extends beyond just player concerns. Industry observers continue to watch closely for signs of how this failure might influence GTA 6's development process. Will Rockstar adopt a more transparent communication strategy? Will they implement more robust systems for gathering and acting on player feedback? As development continues behind closed doors, the gaming world can only speculate on the changes being made in response to all of Rockstar's public disasters.
Now, how Rockstar wrangles community feedback and content updates for GTA 6 is going to be under the old magnifying glass like never before.
The true impact of Red Dead Online's failure on Grand Theft Auto 6? Well, that has yet to be fully realized. Can Rockstar rebuild trust while delivering on the massive expectations that come with a game fans have been waiting 12 years for? The answer to this question will redefine the future of Rockstar games and their relationship with their dedicated fans. The failure of Red Dead Online highlights the importance of ongoing support in live service games. Rockstar's shift to Grand Theft Auto 6 disappointed players, raising questions about the company's commitment beyond initial sales. There's a delicate balance between profit and player satisfaction, but the downfall of Red Dead Online reminds us that players deserve transparent communication and consistent updates. For Rockstar, the fallout may impact Grand Theft Auto 6's development, as veteran players for Rockstar Online's offerings will come in with great expectations. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you made it to the end, comment "I have a plan, Arthur" down below. Share this with the homies and do the usual YouTube things.
Making these videos takes a bunch of time, but your support makes it all worth it.
There we go.